Welcome back, it's me, Lou. On today's episode, we're going to dive deep into the world of action figures. And we're going to take a look at this Cheetor from Transformers Beast Wars. Now, this is a part of Hasbro's new toy line that's known as R.E.D, Robot Enhanced Design. Now, unlike other Transformer toys, this one doesn't transform at all. It loses the transformation gimmick, and instead, they just focus on making a really good action figure that has multiple points of articulation and multiple accessories. So we're going to unbox this toy and we're going to see if it's any good. Let's get to it. So here we are. Cheetor, Transformers R.E.D, Robot Enhanced Design. Now right off the bat, I love the packaging. This is a great premium package. Package design, for me, it's such a huge selling point on the toy because I'm at the point where, as a collector, I don't really open up all my action figures and all my toys. Back in the day when I was growing up and I was in college, I'd sometimes buy like two of an action figure, but back then they were kind of a little bit more affordable than they are now. So I'd always buy one to open and one to keep, and the one to keep, if it was on a card, I always display it on the wall. So for me, it always mattered to me how a figure looked on the card or in the box. And this just looks great. With it being produced by Hasbro, the impression I get with this new line of action figures, with a big emphasis on action figures, is that I think they're really trying to go for that collector whose mindset's been kind of conditioned from the last, 5 or so years of collecting maybe like Marvel Legends. And I think this complements the line well. Or at least will complement that kind of collection well. If you're more about the characters and just having some sort of physical representation on your shelf of certain Transformer characters, and you don't care much for the transformation or the alt mode, this is for you. And I totally get that because I'm a big Transformer collector, and for me, I've always been kind of fascinated by the oddball toys, especially ones that don't transform. And this isn't a new thing either. This is something that dates way back into the early '80s. I'm not sure if some of the younger collectors realize that. I remember when I was probably in the third grade. This was shortly before the Christmas holiday season. We got that giant JCPenney catalog in the mail, and I used to love just looking through the toy section in the catalog. And I remember looking through the toy section, and I was thumbing around trying to find the Transformers, and they actually had a small couple pages, I think, of Transformers. But some of the toys that were in there, they weren't the standard Transformer fare that I would see like at the store and or on commercials. And one of the toys is a pair of Optimus Prime walkie-talkies. And Optimus Prime, it didn't transform. It looked sort of like Optimus Prime. The head looked identical to the toys, but the body, where the cab section is, where the windows and the grill are, I think it was kind of like swapped out with maybe like a speaker or something. But it looked more like an action figure, like a normal action figure to me than the actual real Hasbro made toy. And I was like, wow, that looks really cool. I'd like to have that. So ever since then, I've always been kind of not necessarily obsessed, but I've been more tolerant of Transformer toys that don't transform, because I know that there's a big portion of the community that are really against that, and that's cool. But I think it's, as long as they don't take away shelf space from toys that do transform, I think it's fun that Hasbro gives people that option. It's been around for a while now. Revoltech's been releasing was it 3-0? They've been producing some, and Super 7's have been dipping their toes into the pool. So it's cool. I totally understand though if you're not on board with this kind of concept. That's cool too. But I like this stuff, and I'm going to take a look at it. This is my first one. Initially, I told myself I wasn't going to buy this toy line. But what really sold me on it, because when the toy line first came out a couple months back, I was at Walmart, and I ran into them. And I saw them, and I wanted to buy them, but the thing was, my collection's gotten to this point where I really just need to start saving money, and I can't afford to be buying all these things all the time. I mean, I can afford them, but for me, it just seemed redundant because I have so many versions of Optimus Prime. I have two shelves in my collection that are just dedicated to Optimus Prime and Megatron. So that alone says how many different versions of each character I have, and I'm like, I can't start another collection because it seems like when I first got back into collecting Transformers, I mean, I've always collected, but when I kind of got a little bit more hardcore and die hard about it, my goal was I just wanted modern representations of the G1 cartoon characters. And it took me a while, but eventually I got that done. I'm still a couple figures short in terms of completing the set, but I'm close enough. And then once, since I started doing that, I started branching off and I started buying everything, third party. I'd get the Takara equivalents, and it got out of hand, and I have no more space. So I told myself I don't need this line. But as soon as I saw Cheetor and RC from Transformers Prime on the shelf, and I saw this fig, especially the Cheetor one, this one, because I saw the new was it Kingdom? I saw Kingdom at Target, the new Kingdom version, like a month or two ago. And then when I saw that, I was kind of excited until I looked into the window. I'm like, oh, it still kind of looks kind of kibbly, and I don't know, because I always had high expectations of what these figures should look like, just because I used to watch the cartoon, like when it was on back in the day. And when I saw this, I'm like, the robot mode looks so much like how I envisioned Cheetor to look in his robot mode, and it's the box art kind of conveys it really well. And there's this wicked cool illustration here. So I was just looking at this box, and then I'm like, wow, this looks great. Look at that. Like, I don't care if it transforms or not. I just want a cool looking figure like this. Now, I've already read early reviews when the first wave came out about the quality of the plastic. So, I mean, my biggest concern is I don't really care how soft the plastic is, as long as it's not that weird plastic that melts over time. That's my biggest concern. Like, I have like a bunch of old Jakks wrestling toys and some other lines of figures where the plastic over time it starts to break down and starts melting and getting tacky. And as long as this plastic's not that, I'm cool with it. But we'll see. So let's open this up, but let's take a look at the box real quick. Yeah, the window does such a great job of this framing the character. And it's like I said, it's cool that they have this artwork here. This is cool. Another thing I don't think a lot of people take into consideration is how much something like this costs. And it's not like, I don't think this is an easy money grab for Hasbro. I think this is one of those things where they're going to test the waters, but I kind of feel that they're going to commit to this line just because, for one, unlike Marvel Legends, there's a lot of reuse. You can reuse the same sculpted body over and over and over again for superheroes. There's a lot of unique, molds here, and that requires, unique sculpting for each figure. You can't reuse this Cheetor body for another figure unless you're going to make repaints of Cheetor. So I think Hasbro, they're going to commit to this. We'll see, but I really hope, and I think they're going to commit to this, because I remember with the Power Rangers line of 6-inch action figures, I think that was kind of met with a lukewarm response, but those are like hot now, so I'm hoping this follows the same pursuit, because I would love to see them because I think this line also gives Hasbro the chance to do deep cut characters, like a lot of fan service, and produce characters that they wouldn't normally do in their other lines because they have no place for it. Like, I'm a big fan of IDW's Transformers Lost Light series, and I'd love for them to just do every character from that. So we'll see where this goes, but let's crack this one open. Alright, let's get the tape off. Alright, you got your warning stuff. Oh, the box is really cool too. So once you take out the figure, you get this insert. And the insert's a cool, almost like technical drawing of Cheetor. It's almost like a blueprint kind of looking thing. Really cool. I normally don't do this, but I'm probably gonna. I like this figure so much, and I love the packaging. I'm just gonna keep this in the box. Transformers are one of those figures where I rarely ever keep them in the box. Unless they're the third-party figures, and if they're super expensive, I'll just like display them. But then at some point, I might rebox them up. But the general standard Transformer stuff, like the deluxe figures and things like that, they normally go on the shelf. All right, so what we got here is we have Cheetor, and then we have this tray of accessories. So that's really neat. So you're getting the base figure, you're getting 2 extra pairs of hands, which is awesome. Right now he comes with fists. So yeah, it's his gripping hands and his kind of like kind of hands. And then he has blast effects, his shooter, and I think this is like energon crystals. Now I'm really curious about these because let me take these out first. Alright, so in the Transformer community, the last, I don't know, maybe a couple of years, some of the figures have been coming with blast effects. Like Omega Supreme has them, Jetfire has them, and these things suck. They look really cool, but they suck because for some, this is a case of that weird plastic that starts melting. And I remember I woke up one morning and I was just going through the forums, and then people are talking about it. They're like, yeah, if you have these blast effects on your figure, take them off because they're melting. And I'm like, I like panicked, and I went upstairs and I'm like, oh my god, where's my Omega Supreme and my Jetfire? And I checked, and they were right. I had one of these blast effects put on Jetfire in like one of the ports, and then it was like getting all tacky and sticky, and it wouldn't pull out easily unless I had to force it out. And what I did, I think it kind of left some residue, or I don't know, it took paint off or something. But these look really cool, but yeah, be leery of displaying these long term. If you're just doing photography or just playing with the toys, it's cool, but after you're done, just put them away in like a bag in somewhere else. Okay, so I'm gonna take a look at the figure now, and we'll see. It's like this is my first time handling a R.E.D. figure, so I don't know if people are exaggerating about the quality of the plastic. Alright, so first off, in hand, I could live with this. I think if you're a Transformer fan and you have this plastic's, it's no harder or softer than a Marvel Legends figure. So, people say it feels gummy. Yeah, this feels like a Marvel Legends figure, the plastic. It doesn't feel any harder or softer. So I can live with this. This is cool. Oh, this comes off. That's awesome. What I'm hoping that will win over collectors with these figures is that I'm hoping that the customizing community gets on board with these, because I think once more of these figures come out, it'll provide more fodder pieces for customizers, and I think you're going to start seeing lots of innovative things like swapping body parts. Does this come off? Don't force it. Don't force it. Wow, this comes off. Cool. Yeah, so this is cool. I could get behind this line. But it's like I said, if this isn't your thing, I totally respect that. I love collecting 6-inch scale figures. I have a huge collection of DC Classics, a huge collection of Marvel Legends, and everything in between. And for me, this is cool. I'm stoked on the idea that I could just have these figures just be figures. Now, I know one issue that I can't probably argue against is that I don't have another one out here on hand, but I guess scale has been an issue. So if you're, if scale's your thing and you want to make sure the characters all fall in this right height with each other, you might be disappointed. But I really think these are more aimed at the dudes that just collect stuff and just display it in terms of like desktop toys and stuff. But it's great though. Let me try swapping out one of these hands. Yeah, the hands. I don't have a figure on me, but I think this peg might be the same size as some of the Marvel Legend ones, because I know that the Marvel Legend ones, they vary in sizes, but I've seen the size peg before. I think maybe like on a Spider-Man figure. All right, so the hand swaps easily in. Give him the blaster. Wow, that looks great. I'm so I'm so happy with it. Best thing about it, I don't know, people are gonna complain, and I can't win this argument, but I think $19 for a figure like this is fairly reasonable. You're already paying that much for a Marvel Legends, and sometimes Marvel Legends, they don't come anywhere with this amount of accessories. My biggest complaint with these toys at retail is that I think these are only available at Walmart right now. So these are Walmart exclusive. And I mean, I go to Walmart all the time, but I kind of wish that they weren't just limited to Walmart. Yeah, this is awesome. I mean, I love the Star Wars Black series. The G.I. Joe Classified are awesome. It only makes sense that they take their biggest property and, you know, follow route. So, man, that's cool. I'm liking this a lot. Alright, so what I'm gonna do now is I actually brought with me some other Cheetor figures to compare it to. It seems only fair. So when the cartoon first started airing, I remember liking the Cheetor character a lot. You know, he was kind of like the younger hero. He always saw Optimus Prime kind of as a mentor and leader role, and he was the young, adventurous one. So for me, it's like I've always liked Cheetor, but I was never happy with any of the Beast Wars or in Beast. There's a couple of Beast Machine figures I actually did like, but for the most part, it's like the figures never looked as close to the computer models as I would have liked. The toys always looked kind of wonky to me. All right, so now I forget which Cheetor this is. I don't know if this is if this is older or not. I just grabbed the first Cheetor I saw off my shelf, and I can't remember if this is from Thrilling 30 or not, or if this is before that, or I don't even remember if they even made a Thrilling 30 Cheetor. All right, but here's now the light's catching. I don't know. I can't. My light here is kind of like overblowing the colors a little, but. So this is a Cheetor figure I have, and if you can see, it's a mess. I love the character. I still, don't get me wrong, I still love this toy, but in terms of displaying it as just a plain action figure, I hate it. I can't put it on the shelf. I put him on the shelf, and he takes up too much space because he has this giant backpack. It makes me crazy, and then his arms. Even though there's articulation, you can't rotate them without these like cup-like things bumping into everything. And it's like, as much as I love the idea and the show and the concept of Beast Wars and Beast Machines and all those other kind of stuff, I'm never happy with the transformation. The robot mode never looks right because there's all these kibbly animal bits that they can't figure out how to hide. The alt modes don't look right because the animals look always kind of distorted because, I don't know. Same problem. So here's a comparison. They're roughly about the same height, I'd say. But I mean, if I'm just displaying stuff and not worrying about transforming them, this is the guy I'm going to. This looks really cool. I still love this one. I'm still going to put this on the shelf, don't get me wrong. But I'm really hoping to have a sizable collection of these if Hasbro commits to the line, which I'm really fingers crossed that they do. Now I'm going to show you my favorite Cheetor figure, and this one, this is like perfect Cheetor for me, but it's not Beast Wars. This is from I want to say it's, oh god, it's been like what, like 2 decades already. I think this is Beast Machines Cheetor, I think, unless it's a different design. But this is from the Titanium series, and I love this figure. Of those, for that couple of years that Hasbro's were making those Titanium figures, they were always kind of weird because for me they were always hit or miss. It's cool that I was getting Transformer toys that were with these, like, this is very heavy. This is like a heavy die-cast metal, and it actually transforms. But for me, the robot mode is sick. I love this. I love this toy so much. It looks cool. His proportions are. He has that heroic proportions. He has the musculature, the more pronounced chest. He has a great head sculpt, and the details are so much crisper with this die cast. It feels nice. This is a nice premium figure. I like this a lot. And I think initially I passed on this dude when he was first in excuse me, when he was first in stores. I had to buy this guy, I think, like at a Comic-Con or at a flea market or something. But I was so happy when I had him. So this is my favorite Cheetor figure. This might win me over before the day is over, but this is cool. You know, give this toy line a chance. If you're curious about it, at least buy one or two of them. You know, if you're not happy with it, cool. You know, don't buy them again. But I want to see this line continue. For me, we're like at this golden age where they make. I mean, it's bad on my wallet, and there's so many options. But that's the thing; they're giving us so many options in terms of, as a collector, what you can buy. If you're a younger collector, you're never gonna remember those days when it was, you know, those darker days when there wasn't that much. But nowadays, there's so many multiple lines of toys, and then there's so many waves. It's like there's so many options. So unless they're impeding on your ability to collect something, you know, don't hate on this. You know, let the dudes who love this kind of stuff, give them this. This is for dudes like me who want to see stuff like this. I might not fall into the majority because, you know, I think it's going to take some time for them to win over more fans with this line of figure. But, you know, give Hasbro a chance to have them produce these. There's so many great characters in the Transformers mythos that have very limited character releases, or, you know, they might not ever see the light of day. Like with this line, they could produce so many cool things out of it, and I really want to see this line strive and just continue and just do awesome. But I'm impressed right now. It's cool. I get it. If you love the transformation gimmick, it's cool, and they give you those options still. But this is this action figure. You know, it's highly posable. I understand what people are saying about the plastic, but for me, it doesn't feel any different than Star Wars Black Series or Marvel Legends or G.I. Joe Classified. And if you're on board with those toy lines, yeah, this is a nice figure. So that's the wrap up on R.E.D. Cheetor Robot Enhanced Design. I like it. If you like it, I hope you can find them. My Walmarts are always kind of hit or miss with these things. I remember the first wave of these sold out pretty fast, but then a month or two later, they're becoming, I don't want to say they were shelf warmers, because, you know, they would still sell out, but not as fast. But just like the Power Rangers Lightning Collection, I have a feeling that it's going to be a while before, it's going to be a couple of waves in before fans start warming up to this idea. And then once they do, it's going to be a little bit more competitive trying to get these things. So if you've been thinking about trying out these figures, you know, run the gamble, buy one or two of them. If you don't like it, cool. But if this is something that you think you might be starting to collecting in the long term, you know, if you see them, just get them, because you don't want to pay those inflated secondary prices later on. It's a great figure. I love this. So thanks for checking this out, and I'll talk to you later.